Hello guys, and welcome to my first ever YouTube video. Today we are here for WOR Round 2 at Cota in America. Unfortunately, I didn't record my first race ever in WOR, which was at Brazil, but I will let you know that we did finish in P7. It was a very tricky race, to be honest. We just didn't have full pace there, but for my first ever WOR race, I'll take it. So heading into this race, championship is P7, as you all know. But today I'm looking to get a stronger result as we're just warming up our tyres onto our first flying lap of qualifying today. Yeah, I do also want to quickly say apologies for my bad throat today. Yeah, I've just had a sore throat for the past few days, so I sound a little bit croaky. Yeah, apologies for that, but heading up past turn 1, a good first corner, good exit coming down here. We do have an Alfa Romeo just ahead of us though, which is lagging. It's putting off us a little bit, and he spawns right in front of us and we spin. I don't know if that was because of him, but I think we just lost the rear coming out of that corner. And as a lot of you know, if you have played the F1 games, that sector is very tricky to basically get past every corner without getting a little bit of oversteer. But we're now heading on to our second run of today, just trying to keep it a bit safe now, just thinking that we might lose it again. So a bit cautious up into turn 1. We could have maybe cut it a little bit more, because you can cut that a little bit, but going into the bit that we struggled with last time, we're almost a tenth down, so we're being really careful as we just go very slowly, and we lose it again. And at this point I was just getting confused and frustrated now, whether it could be the setup or it's just the tyres overheating too much going through into them corners. So we head into the garage to change our tyre pressures, and hopefully that makes a difference, because they were quite high. So we've just turned them down a little bit, just to see if that would help us just keep the momentum and feel more confident through them corners without spinning it. So yeah, heading out, a little bit of oversteer. But now going on to our third run for today on fresh new softs. Coming up to the line, we are already down almost half a tenth, so not a good exit out of that last corner, but we do brake late and just a little bit cautious again going into turn 1. Just want to try and set a banker lap onto the timing sheets, coming through the fast sweeping corners of the S's in sector 1, and yet again just trying to keep it slow and cautious, just so that we don't spin it. And we do make it through that sector. We've got a green sector 1, so no purples right now, but we're obviously 10 seconds up from our previous 2 spins. Heading down into the heavy braking zone now, braking just in between the 50 and 100. Just run a little bit too wide and a little bit of oversteer coming down the final straight. We got IAV with the fastest lap so far. Right now we're just going to try and aim for about the top 10, I'm going to say now, but heading into another tricky braking zone just before the 100, making it stick, hitting the sausage curbs, which you don't really want to do. We could have cut the last corner, missed the apex again. It's not a very good lap today. We got the Haas trying to get past us, but obviously we're on a fast lap as well, so we're not going to let that happen. Coming through another fast corner where you could lose the rear very easily. Again, we make it stick. The car is just sticking this lap. No mistakes in oversteer. And heading up to the final corner, braking late again. Perfect last corner. Maybe could have carried on a little bit more speed, and we go P7, 2 tenths behind D1 Onzo. So a very good first lap set down onto the timing boards. But here, this is our final run of today. 20 seconds left on the clock. Heading round, making a sharp turn just to get a great exit, and coming up to the start finish line. We are up on our time, so we had a better exit this time. Heading up into hard braking zone into turn 1. Bit cautious again, we lose a bit of time, but on the exit we have a great run down into the next corner, just keeping it flat into 6th gear, now into 7th, and keeping all of our momentum into the first corners, keeping it up, and we have invalidated our final lap. That is us out of qualifying. We're going to be starting P11, as you can see, and we have the pole sitter IAV in P1 with a 1:33.6, almost 2 tenths quicker than everyone else, and we have our teammate in P9, I think that was. But yeah, so not the greatest qualifying from us in our league racing career. But we got our strategy now. We are going to be selecting a default one that we got. We pit on lap 12 for hard, starting on mediums. We also take the fuel down a little bit, but we're going to keep it up one lap just in case, because I have actually never done a league race on F122 in this. We get 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. It's lights out and away we go. We get a pretty decent start, but phase 2 of our upshifting into 5th gear is great. We get past of our teammate. We got a bit of battling up ahead. We try and go safely round the outside of some of the drivers. And now heading up, and we have the 2 Ferraris clashing. We have them both out of the race, right at the back of the grid. They do manage to carry on, but it's a virtual safety car. We have made up a total of 4 places, so a very good first sector for us. And now we are just trying to get a bit more heat into the tyres, as we didn't have a formation lap, so they are quite low. So now we're just looking to try and set our sights up for Moggy, who is right in front of us. We're going to try and get him right on the safety car restart, but yeah, our delta is quite high though, so that does mean that we won't probably get the best jump on Moggy, so we might have to sit behind him now, as the virtual safety car is ending right at the end of the straight, so not the perfect place, as we can't get a good exit on him. But yeah, now coming into the sharp corner, we're right on the back of Moggy. We're going to try and look for a place, maybe around the outside, but it doesn't happen. We're just going to sit behind him for a little bit. We've got the Aston Martin in front, and we have a Mercedes in front. I think that is Rusty, but I'm not 100% sure, as Moggy does go a bit wide coming out of that final corner, so we are very close to him now, as he does brake late and he makes a mistake off to the track, so we just make a little bit of room for him, and we safely make it past him now, with the Aston Martin with a big snap out of the final corner there, deploying ERS, now turning it off, and now setting our sights up for the Aston Martin, maybe into the first corner, but he brakes very late. We turn in a bit too early there, so we have to correct ourselves. We're right on the back of the Aston Martin now. He hasn't had a good exit, so we're going to try and look if we can get past him through these S's. He does go a little bit sharp there. He does cut the corner a little bit, so that sets him bit badly for the next few corners. We're just going to stay behind him, maybe just get ERS and just slipstream past him, as he makes another mistake. We're going to go down the inside in the fast left hand corner, coming down into the sharp braking zone. Just going to brake later just to finalise that move, as we make it stick, but he tries to get the switchback done, but it doesn't work, so we are safe and sound ahead of the Aston Martin for now, as we now set our sights up for the next train, and we have caught them within their lap, so very good pace from us now. A lot of them are on hards, I think almost all of them. We have fastest lap by quite a bit, as we've them up now over probably about a second, now only 5 tenths behind to the next Red Bull, and then we have the Alpine in P3. So we're going to try and set ourselves up for the Red Bull. He does run a little bit wide into that exit, and yet again he does go and send it. We try and go round the outside, but we don't make it stick. He looks a bit sharp into corners, maybe braking a bit too late into some of them, as we set ourselves up for the big straight coming up right now. Else we just try and sit behind him, don't make any mistakes on the exit. You get a good corner, that is how we're supposed to make it, just cutting it just fine. As we have DRS on this lap now, we're going to just hopefully just try and sit behind him and maybe just tag us along for a few laps, as we now make it onto lap 4, the exact same place. We brake a little bit late, which scares us a little bit, so we have to just kind of back out going into the corner, so it sets us up very well, because we get a great exit, DRS and DRS open. Now the ERS is shut and we get cleanly by the Red Bull, as he doesn't have DRS. We're going to just brake safely into this corner and just make it stick, and we have got past the Red Bull. Now onto the Alpine, as we head on to the exact same place the lap later, onto lap 5. We got the Red Bull and the Alpine go side by side through a very tricky sector to try and get an overtake, but we have seen it in F1 esports. For an example, with Jarno Otmir this year against I think it was Barry Buremund and Thomas Ronha. So we get a great exit out of this corner, try and switch back the Red Bull. We go round the outside, but he goes also a bit wide with the Alpine. We're trying to make another switchback, but we just make it safe. Don't want to risk anything right now. So just sit behind them again, heading on to the next lap of lap 6, trying to just set ourselves up for probably not this DRS, but onto the main DRS on the back straight, and just chill behind them as we have the Red Bull past the Alpine, as the Alpine makes a bit of a mistake, a bit wide, but that gives him a great exit when you run wide. So we're just going to try and sit behind them now, just try and save our ERS and save our tyres, because obviously they're on hard, so they'll be able to pull us along probably on about lap 10, as we have the Red Bull making a bit of a mistake, which brings the Alpine right on the back of him, but also we make a bit of a mistake just getting it a bit crossed up and into them S's there, so we are a little bit behind, so open up a little bit of ERS, braking into this corner, trying to make it work. Do run a little bit wide. We do have the Red Bull staying with us, only 8 tenths behind us, as the Alpine does look to make a move onto this lap. He goes to the right as the Red Bull goes to the left. We got a bucket of popcorn in our hands, just waiting for them to make a mistake and just nip down the inside of one of them, as we have the Alpine just making a little bit of a mistake. So we go round the outside, but again it doesn't work. We just have to sit here again and just wait until they make a mistake, or we have a perfect chance to get a switch back, as the Red Bull does make another mistake, which sets the Alpine into P2, clean as you like it, and the Red Bull tries to keep it on the outside, but the Alpine isn't having it, and he lets him get the place into P2 as the Red Bull runs a little bit wide there, which does set him up a bit awkwardly coming into the final corners. We're right on the back of them now, as the Red Bull does probably deploy ERS down this straight, trying to get past the Alpine. He is desperate to make the move. The Alpine does go to the left a little bit, so they have to stay behind, and there's a bit of a contact with the Red Bull and the Alpine, which sets the Red Bull a bit slow going into this corner. We try and make it round the outside. Again, it doesn't work. We just don't have much speed round the outside of these two today, as just like the previous laps, we're just going to sit behind them, save ERS, save the tyres, and just hope that they make a mistake and we can maybe pounce onto the Merc that is pulling away. So we do need to be careful with that, which hopefully the Alpine is going to drag us and the Red Bull into them. So we are going to have a great shot at the lead right now, as we have a little bit of mistake. We have the Red Bull maybe slowing us down into his teammate, maybe a bit of team tactics there. We open the ERS, he goes to the left, we go to the right, and it's coming down into the braking zone. Who's going to be latest on the brakes? We're going to brake just before the 100. We're going to try and aim for a switchback. We nail it just perfectly, just missing his rear tyre. But he does make it, and we go trying to go around the outside of him, but he's not having it. But we send it into the corner, just trying to get past desperately to try and catch up into the Alpine and the Mercedes, which is trying to just slowly creep its way into victory. But we don't want that to happen, so we are going to be a bit desperate with the moves now, as we don't want to waste our medium tyres just staying behind the Red Bull, as we do get DRS into this next corner. It's the same with the Red Bull, so it's a bit unfortunate that he still has DRS. Heading onto the same lap just a little bit later, heading into the deep braking zone, and getting the corner perfectly, so we have a good run on the driver ahead. We're going to open the ERS, we've got 60% of it, he looks like he hasn't got much. We go to the left this time, get the inside and get cleanly past him, heading into another braking zone, and just trying to keep within 1 second of the Alpine, which we managed to do, which is good because he is also caught up to the Mercedes, so we have a very good chance of getting past both of these cars on this medium stint, which we are going to try and do, because we're going to just slowly sit behind the Alpine, let him drag along until we get very close and we can make a move, as we just save the mediums as long as we can, which is our plan, to extend them as much as we can so we can have a great run on our hard stint later on in this race. I think in lap 16, which we do get very close to the Alpine, but we're not going to open the ERS just now because we want to save it for the big straight. Hopefully he can bring us into the Mercedes so we can maybe get a 2-1 overtake. But we do need to be careful of the Red Bull behind us, as he probably is saving ERS now. So he'll have a lot. We only have about 50%. Run a little bit wide into that corner, so we aren't right next to the Alpine, sorry. And now we're just going to try and save our tyres as much as we can up here, because the tyre degradation at USA is very, very high. So you don't see anyone like going on softs this race or anything. As now coming into the exit of the sharp braking corner, I'm sorry I can't remember the name of that corner, but now we see the Alpine just slowly catching up to the Mercedes. Will he make a move? He does go round the outside, but will he be late on the brakes? Yes, he is, but so is the Mercedes, as that now sets us a great exit for us on the Alpine. So we're going to try and hold it round the outside of him, which turns onto the inside for the next corner. So that move is basically done now, and it is. So we're right on the back of the Merc, as we have a little bit of a snap, but so does the Alpine. So that's helped us a bit more on the exit, as we can just focus our sights on the Mercedes now. But the Alpine does catch up back into DRS, so a bit unfortunate there. We couldn't get outside of the DRS, but maybe it could help us later on in the race if we do need another driver to maybe help us get past the Mercedes, as he looks quite strong in this race today, Isaac Rusty. As we go into turn 1, he does run a little bit wide, so we have caught up a little bit more coming out of the exit now. Just going to yet again save our ERS, no point using it now, and just tag us along away from the Alpine hopefully. But he does get a bit of a bad sector 1, which brings us more into it. But we got the Alpine right behind us though. Does run a little bit wide though, but also gives us a bad exit, as the Alpine, as you can see in the rear virtual mirror, is right behind us, only 2 tenths behind, as we need to be late on the brakes just to get a perfect exit and try and stay, as we do run a bit wide and we get a massive snap of oversteer. Luckily we saved it though, but we do have the Alpine. We're not going to use ERS, we're just going to hopefully let him by, and maybe he can have a chance at the Mercedes, as we didn't get a chance this lap. But he does brake a little bit early, so we go round the outside, but we just let him here, as you can see, just lifting off there and just staying behind him, so we don't lose too much time to the Mercedes, as he's almost out of the second, but he's back in now. As we head up out of the exit into the fast right hand corner here, just going to stay in the slipstream, just save our tyres yet again. No point pushing in a place which we would probably lose the place again, as the Mercedes makes an error and he does run a little bit wide, so that brings us more closer to the Mercedes than we have before. Now going on later on the lap, we have the Alpine right on the back of the Mercedes, which gives us a great run out of the exit. We are all within about 2.5 tenths, as the Alpine does get into first, and as there's a bit of a knock-on effect there, as the Alpine broke a little bit early. I broke early, the Red Bull went into me and I went into the Mercedes, which is unfortunate, as the Alpine is now pulled away almost out of the second, and the Mercedes, out of all of this, has gone down from first to fourth in about a sector, so it's not great for him, as the Red Bull and the Mercedes are still side by side, as they make a contact and the Mercedes is round. He is round and probably out of the race winning fight now, which is unfortunate, as we have a massive snap ourselves, as we also lose the DRS from the Red Bull behind, so that's good. We can maybe just tag along like what we said earlier, save our ERS as well, mainly because we only have 30% and we just need to save that later on in the race if anything happens. So we're just going to stay behind the Alpine here, as we now have the pit windows now open. We're going to pit maybe a few more laps after this. We're not going to pit this lap, as we go on to back onto lap 13, just staying behind the Alpine. We have gained 6.2 seconds away from everyone now, as we get our first warning of the race heading into the pits, and we do pit early. I'm sorry, apologies for thinking that we pit on lap 16. We didn't, we pit on lap 13. which is now 14, as the Alpine and everyone else, as they're on hard, stays out and extends their tyre stint to go on to the medium, as it's a good stop from all of us. Only 2.2 now onto the hards. We're going to come out, I think, just ahead of our teammate, which is kind of crucial because we aren't really big teammates in this. We're kind of just here to battle. We're not really here for the constructors right now, because it's only race 2, so it's not a massive thing. But yeah, we do comfortably come out ahead of our teammate Christian, who is now 2.1 seconds behind us, who maybe is going to catch us up a little bit. As everyone knows, when you come out of the pits, your tyres are going to be fresh cold, so we are only gaining maybe about half a tenth. We're now going on to lap 15. 2 laps later, we've gained about 4 seconds away from our teammate, as we have the first lot of hard runners pitting some of the leaders that were behind us about 6 seconds. But the Alpine of Mulchen has stayed out, so hopefully this brings us closer and closer to him. And just this is where we need to push, as we do see in the top left of our corner, we see Mulchen into the pits now. He was about 19 seconds ahead, so that is about where we are when he comes out. So hopefully we can just have a great last sector, which we don't really manage to do on that second to last corner, but we're going to have a great run up this final corner, get straight onto this 4th gear, now coming down into the start finish straight, as there he is on the exit coming out, and he is just ahead, but he does run a bit wide, so we're going to try and get the switchback. Oh, and we almost lose it ourselves. A massive snap of oversteer, which has saved him the race. He is now back into P1. We would have definitely got him on the exit there, but luckily for him, we do make a mistake, but it's unfortunate for us, as he now still has cold tyres. So we're going to try and aim and try and set ourselves up onto this final DRS section of this lap. Now coming into the deep braking zone, we're going to try and brake as late as we can, but also try and get a great exit coming up onto this final straight, because we do want to get past him, as he's still on cold tyres, and we can maybe pull away this lap. As we open DRS, we don't have much ERS that we're going to use, but we do use a little bit just to finalise the move and don't make it side by side into this corner, which we make it past, and we are now leading the race for the first time this Grand Prix. After pitting on lap 13, now onto lap 17, we are just ahead of the Alpine now, just making it, and we are almost 9 seconds ahead of Isaac Rusty, so he has got a lot of working to do to try and catch ourselves up, but we're going to just kind of just tag along as we now go on to lap 22. We are almost a second out of Mulchen as we come up just a few laps later, so he has been in our DRS. We haven't been able to pull, but we have been able to just save our ERS, so we haven't been like pushing like crazy and just have no ERS left. So only 6 laps left now, so this would be a terrible time to get a safety car, as we can just pull away into the distance and take this race win. But we are just still trying to focus and try and get out of the DRS from the Alpine, as he has not the greatest exit out of here. It's 9 tenths now, and it just reaches a second just before the braking, and he doesn't manage to get DRS onto this, as we can just now pull away, use all of our ERS just to give us much of an advantage if we do end up getting a penalty, just to try and get out of the second, which we have successfully done, which our next target is now to try and get outside of 3 seconds, just in case we do get a penalty, which we aren't trying to aim for, but in case we do want to be outside of that 3 seconds just to finalise this race win. As heading up now into the fast sweeping corners, we do need to be careful in these corners as well, as we slightly lift off the throttle just to be safe. No spins, but Mulchen is trying so desperately to get into a second. He is 1.03 away from us and him, as now the safety car, the worst timing we could possibly ask for a safety car, is out, and we can't even make a pit stop onto softs, as the safety car is straight away out for no reason. There has been no DNFs in that particular part of the race. There has been one, but that was near the start of the race. So no idea what has gone on where on the track, but we do have the safety car out on track with us now. We do have all of the drivers now behind us. There has been pit stops for some of the drivers you can see on the leaderboard. 4th and 5th and more behind have gone on to the softs, so we are basically almost the only ones out on hards. I think we might be the only ones out because the others are on mediums or softs. We're just trying to desperately get some tyre warmth into these tyres, as it can be tricky under safety car, as it sometimes does go very slowly, so we do need to be careful on our tyre temperatures now, as we do come onto the final lap of the safety car, as it is in this lap now. So we're going to slow the field down, get as much temperature as you can see. We only are at about 70 degrees on the rears, so we really do need to get a bit more warmth into that. But there's a little bit of a glitch where I can't go full throttle for some reason, even though I'm no assist, so it's a bit confusing. So I can't get max tyre temps. We just have to slowly pull away each time just to get as much temperature into them rears. As you can see, they're slightly going a light green, which is not great. We want to have them a nice green to kind of yellow colour, as if they are blue or a very light green, it won't be great, as we're now setting ourselves up onto the final corner. We're going to go, then slow down a little bit, and then go again as we pull away after the safety car. It's been a good start as the Mercedes is right on the back of the Alpine. Is he going to make a move into turn 1? It does look like he is going to, as they keep it round the outside with the Mercedes now. They make a bit of contact there, so we pull away even more, now 6 tenths behind. But it's still not enough. We do need to get outside of that second, because we do have them soft runners right behind, as Isaac Rusty picks up a 3-second penalty, which isn't great for his race, as now we come down into a short straight just before the main back straight, as there's a yellow flag as Bart is out of the race. He was a top runner, sorry. In the top 10 as we make another big snap of oversteer. Just these tyres aren't working on the exits as the Alpine gets past us. We're going to turn off the ERS. We're not going to waste it going side by side as the Merc also gets past us. Is he going to send it on the Alpine? He does look for it, but he doesn't make it, as he does cut the corner a lot there. So that could have been a warning for the Mercedes, as he sends it on the Alpine, which sends us into second place right behind the Mercedes, trying to keep it round the outside of the Alpine. And we do run a little bit wide onto the sausage curb, so we don't get the greatest exit, but we are on the inside. So we're going to turn on the ERS, I think, a little bit. There you go. And we just safely get past him. And now we can just focus on just keeping it safe and simple right behind Isaac, as we're coming on to the second to last lap. Now, just using a little bit of ERS just to stay behind Isaac, as we don't want to lose him, otherwise Mulchin would be right on the back of us. A little bit of a lock up there, but we have the Red Bull sending it down on the Alpine there, but the Alpine stays ahead of the Red Bull here. We're right on the back of the Mercedes, which is good. We're going to just keep this up, making every corner stick, and it's working perfectly right now, as the Mercedes does run a little bit wide into that, but compromises into the next corner with a perfect apex. So we do lose a bit of time on the exit here, so we do turn on the ERS just to catch up a little bit more, as we have the other Red Bull with a 3-second penalty, so that's not going to be good for him, as Isaac runs a bit wide and then has a little bit of a snap. So we're going to look right on the back of him, see if he can make a move, but we don't want to be too risky with it. It's almost the final lap, and we don't want to risk anything happening or us getting taken out, so we're just going to stay behind as the Alpine brakes very late, which does bring him back onto the rear of us, as the Mercedes makes another mistake coming out of that. But also we have a little bit of a twitchy moment there. We're just going to set ourselves up as we run a little bit wide, which isn't very good, as we have the Alpine over on the outside of us. We're going to try and just make it stick again, just like the same as last lap. Just turn on the ERS, and we get a second warning of the race. So one more warning and we get a penalty. So this is not very good, and it's not looking good for us so far, but we still don't have a penalty, so it's perfect right now. But we do have the Alpine pushing like crazy right behind us, and so we have Luca with the fastest lap as the Alpine runs a bit wide. We get a penalty, and we have completely ruined it. We could have really succeeded in this race, but we have got a penalty, and we need to push like crazy and get past the Mercedes, because we won't be able to get past theoretically now. We need to make the move properly stick, and we'll probably set ourselves up onto the back straight now, as we do catch a little bit up onto the Mercedes, as we only have 30% ERS, so not much to make on the back straight, as we all make the perfect place, as the Mercedes is now flashing. He has no ERS, it's just me and him. I have a tiny bit left, so we're going to make the move on the outside. We're going to make it stick. He has got no chance, so we're going to brake a little bit late and just make it a little bit wide there as well. But we're going to make it. Coming on to the final sector now. It is perfect for us right now. It's just really, really annoying that we have the penalty. We're just going to hope and pray that the Alpine does get a penalty in this final sector, as we don't make that last corner work very well, as we run a bit wide, so it compromises our exit a little bit. Therefore the Mercedes is very close to us, only 4 tenths. Coming up to the final corner now. It's been an amazing race. We unfortunately do get a 3-second penalty, but on track we win at USA, but we finish at the end of it P3, only 5 tenths behind the Ferrari. Oh my god, it is annoying that we got that penalty. Our teammate comes home P11, I think. No, P12. So not the greatest result, as another 0-point finish for him, as we have the Alpine driver winning the US Grand Prix. As there we see a little flick kick, as you want to call it. But there we go, we got the Alpine in first. IAV with a very solid result after that turn 1 incident with his teammate, and then us in P3. We got Captain Crankshaft in P4, Isaac Rusty to end out the top 5. Yeah, that is the race done. Let's take a look at the standings. So we have IAV in second place both races, which puts him up to first in the championship. We have the Alpine with 4 points in 25. Then we have Kev, who's been moved up a tier. And then we have Diogo Rosario in P4. And then it's me, only 15 points behind the leader. So we're doing alright so far. So technically we're in P4 with Kev going up a tier. Yeah, that is the standings. But that is it for me today. Hope you all enjoyed the video and the race. It was a very good race on my side. Yeah, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.